Welcome to the Bill Cartwright Show. My special guest today is NBA scout, video coordinator, jack of all trades coach, Noel Gillespie. Noel, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
No, I'm always curious to we think we know the people we work with, but we don't really know them. So that's what I really want to find out today. Let's talk about yourself. I want you to talk about where you grew up and talk about mom and dad.
Sure. Grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, born and raised. Both my parents are graduated from Marquette. I was born December of 77. You remember Marquette won it now we're in Final Four right now, but they won it in 77. So I was born right at Marquette's campus the year they won it. Grew up there, born and raised, went to the same grammar school, grade school, St. Catherine. Had three younger brothers. And from my childhood on, it was Milwaukee. Went to freshman year, Columbia College in Chicago. You were probably coaching then with the Bulls, 96, 97. And then transferred to Wisconsin Whitewater, where I graduated, and then been bouncing around in this profession ever since.
Talk a little bit about what kind of kid were you in high school? I was a sports kid. What kind of kid were you?
I love sports. I wasn't a great player, so I'll admit that first. My first passion, I think me and you might have talked about this years ago, was baseball. I was a huge baseball fan. Growing up in Milwaukee, and I think just we could talk generations or whatever, but on our block, everyone, you played catch, you played pickle, you played pepper, you played wiffle ball. It was baseball, baseball, baseball. So that was kind of the first love for me. Wasn't a great little league player, but participated, neighborhood games, like I said, church leagues. Milwaukee Brewers were there. I got my Brewer hat on today. So they were American League back then. And I didn't really transition to the love of basketball around 88. My dad, he went to the Olympics in Seoul, South Korea to cover bowling. It was an exhibition sport. And then I started tuning into the Olympic basketball and I started watching, always knew about, obviously, the NBA and Magic and Bird, but that kind of fanned the flames to basketball. So, I was fortunate, went to Dominican High School, Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin, played varsity baseball, varsity basketball, and varsity football. Now, I'll say that. So I was on the team. So I was by no means Jim Thorpe, Jackie Robinson, but I don't look up the stats, but I hold that against my son all the time.
So you talked a little bit about where'd you go right after high school? What were you thinking?
So I wanted to get into kind of what we're doing now: radio, TV, film, more on the broadcast side. I thought, again, that same sports passion. Sports talk radio, behind the scenes, production. So Columbia, Chicago had a big time program. The problem was there, Bill. It was okay. You have to be specific. You're not just radio, TV, film. Which avenue do you want to be in? And then once you decide you radio, you want to be on air talent. You want to be production. You want to be advertising. Film. Do you want to do sound? Do you want to do this or that?
Wow.
So. It was great for me to kind of learn and find a niche, and then I did that. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, so transferred to Whitewater, where I could do more of everything. I could be the general manager of the radio station, and do video production and do my own, Division III Sports Center. So it kind of gave me more to work with there.
So now that you're at Whitewater, what are you thinking about your last year there and your transition out of Whitewater?
No, it's a great question. So again, I knew I loved sports, had a passion for sports, and it's funny. Like in college, myself, my roommate, we would try to break down NBA film. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what floppy action was or anything, but we had the equipment at the studio. So back then it was a satellite, and it would come in with the feeds, the highlights, and try to cut it up and break down film. So from there it was like, okay, how can I minored in coaching. They had a minor in coaching at Whitewater, which was great. So got
Interesting.
out, yeah, got out of college, and then was looking around to again, being in Milwaukee, hit all the Milwaukee TV stations, Chicago TV stations. And then I had a friend that interned with the Milwaukee Bucks, and he had done an internship and said, "Hey, for doing video." And he said, "It's not production, it's the coaching video." And I was like, at the time, I didn't even realize it existed. I said, "Well, that's my avenue. That's got everything. That's got video production, and it's got you're with the coaching staff." So out of college, was able to get an internship with the Indiana Pacers. So right away, so graduated, and then the season started. That fall, and was able to just be behind the scenes, get my feet wet, and kind of get thrown right into it. I think that's a unique path for me. Bill, a lot of times coaches, you go up through the ranks. You coach junior high and then high school. You might be a varsity coach. You go Division II, Division III, and then maybe
Yeah.
Division I. Where you can learn to talk to parents, and you're cutting kids, and you're where I did it. That Indiana Pacers. You Reggie Miller. You got veteran guys. Isaiah Thomas was the coach, and you're thrown into it. So for me, that was ideal. Like that was it's like my dream job. I didn't even have aspirations to coach then. It was just, man, I'm here. Uh, every day you come in, you record games throughout the league, and then to learn the scouting process, and all the things, obviously going into a scouting report was great.
Well, who did you really learn from while you were there that kind of pointed you in the right direction?
Yeah, so Derek Pierce was the video coordinator. He's still with the Atlanta Hawks, and he's does great college pro scouting. But Dan Burke, who's now assistant coach with Philadelphia 76ers, I think he's running Doc Rivers defense. But I think probably took the most from him: attention to detail, scouting reports. Brendan Malone was there, who he probably thought I was a pest at the time, but longtime coach, and I bug him. We didn't have time. Like, hey, how do what's a box and one, or what's this or that? And then it's funny, oddly enough, that I ended up working for his son for one season with the Denver Nuggets and Michael Malone. But I think picking Brendan Malone's brain, he was always good because he'd work guys out. He'd work out Kevin Ollie after practice. I'd go rebound for him. But you just pick up so much just observing and learning. But Dan Burke was the main one, I think, just to put the nuts and bolts, the meat and potatoes of your upcoming opponent, and then everything it goes into it, the personnel and the play tendencies, and watching game, picking up the calls. Was a real eye opener, and then kind of set me on that path.
So talk about your next step, because as you know, with the NBA, there's always a next step. So talk about how and why you left the Pacers and where you went.
So my internship with the Pacers was done. I wanted to stay in the NBA. Sent out feelers, had tried to make phone calls. Didn't really have anything, but kind of like by circumstance, someone got my name from Florida State University, and the men's basketball program had said, "Hey, we are looking for." They had a video coordinator, but they're looking for a grad assistant to help. They were learning a new program, and the video program that I'd used with the Pacers, they were using at Florida State. So for there, it just kind of made sense. Go to FSU. It was Leonard Hamilton's first year, so they were establishing a program, and I was going to be able to help those guys with this video system. Again, back then, still it was VHS tapes, so recording a ton of games, breaking the games down. Your opponent, your self scout, and Florida State had a brand new building, basketball facility. They're putting in cameras and all the high tech equipment. So from the Pacers, went to Florida State for 1 year. Thankfully, I did. I met my wife there, but it was year one of the program. And then the Phoenix Suns were calling around. They had the same type of scenario the next season. They were getting this new high tech equipment. I had used it with the Pacers, had used it at Florida State, had an video coordinator position, and was able to again get my foot in the door with the Suns. And then obviously that's where we met, and I was there for 10 seasons.
Now, who hired you there?
Todd Quinter, and so I owe a lot to Todd. Todd is still scouting. Dave Griffin was there. Dave Griffin, I think, gave it to Todd, and Todd came back with my name. Todd's still scouting with New Orleans, and it's funny. I was coaching the Hornets G League team. Todd, we crossed paths again. He was a scout for the Hornets when I was coaching their G League team, so we kind of ran back in the same circle.
So you were with Phoenix for quite a long time. That's where we met. Talk about your time with Phoenix and talk about what you learned while you were there to help you transition as a coach.
No, it was an incredible 10 years. I went from assistant video coordinator up to assistant coach. So really allowed me to grow. Assistant video coordinator, advanced scout, where we met, and then eventually worked my way up to assistant coach. So just, again, I had a ton of responsibility in the video room. I mean, again, Bill and I, we have talked about just how these teams have expanded their coaching staffs and, player development, strength conditioning, equipment. I can imagine when, you were playing with the Knicks, right? It was probably head coach, assistant coach, and trainer, and they did everything. So my first year in Phoenix in the video room, learned a ton. The next year I was promoted to video coordinator. And at the time, again, it wasn't a huge staff, so able to participate, drills in practice and, work guys out after. It was a small staff. So got to learn a ton again. Frank Johnson was the coach. Frank had got fired. D'Antoni took over. And again, give them credit for just including me in everything. And just, as it goes in the NBA, just try to be a sponge, learn as much as you can, be helpful. And obviously it led me on a coaching career.
Talk about the difference once you were on the bench. What was that like? Now you're finally coaching.
Yeah, I think it was, for me, it was a great transition because as a video coordinator, I was able to be behind the bench, still be involved, still have game day responsibilities, whether charting offense or defense, calling out play calls the other team ran. So it was a good segue from sitting behind the bench for a couple years, learning the NBA, learning the system, the ins and outs, the dynamic coaches, players, officials, fans. So when I did make that quote unquote leap or became a full-time assistant coach, it was easy to transition into it. I think if I would have went from the video room to behind the bench or on the bench as an assistant, it would have been obviously a big learning curve. But being able to ease into it was huge. And then again, to observe and see the game, and again with the dynamic of a coaching staff, the head coach and the assistants. So when to give suggestions, when it's your time to speak. And then certain coaches, might want you to give them a note. They might want to give that assistant a note. Sometimes they want to tell you directly. If there's a guy running the offense or defense, you tell them. Again, talking to, players a lot of times keep their confidence up. So it was a natural progression, which was great.
So you had 10 years with the Suns. Talk about your transition from the Suns and not why you left, but what were you thinking when you were leaving?
Yeah, so the when I ended with the Suns, I was front of the bench and doing the defense. So coming from that experience, had been in the video room, had done advanced scouting. Naturally, it's like, okay, I'm ready to continue to keep coaching. Fortunately, Brian Shaw had just gotten the job in Denver. I'd spoken with him briefly out in LA at a clinic, stayed in touch, and Tim Conley was the general manager there. So kind of went through the summer and was able to catch on as an assistant with the Nuggets. Brian Shaw's first job as a head coach. So it was, definitely caught a break and was able to transition from the Suns to the Nuggets, stay in the Western Conference. Where you're familiar with the teams and the personnel, and get right back into it.
How was that different as far as being in Denver and being in Phoenix?
Yeah, I think obviously weather-wise, Phoenix, those summers are brutal. Denver, just the non-basketball stuff it's so spread out. So where the airport is compared to where the arena is, where we lived as a family, it's so spread out. Basketball wise, again, it was unique because they were coming from George Karl. They were playing really up tempo. I think he was coach of the year. Masai had been general manager of the year, I want to say, and again, it was new general manager Tim Conley, who's still there, obviously, and Brian Shaw, able to implement what he was going to do. For me, the move wasn't as bad. Just staying west. Again, the familiarity of traveling and knowing those West Coast teams. But definitely a little different moving from Phoenix to Denver. Weather-wise, for sure.
So now you were in Denver for, what is it, 3 years?
Three seasons. So Brian Shaw was the first two, and then Michael Malone was the third season. And looking back, love living in Denver, love the organization. Was there Jokic's rookie year, so obviously still root for him. Worked with Will Barton daily, and Will's still there. Those are the two main players. I still obviously watch and keep tabs on. But from there, Bill, it was, I wanted to become a head coach. Wanted to try to explore it. Initially, when I left Phoenix, I was kicking tires for G League opportunities. I just wanted in my career path never to look back and say, hey, what if if you never get that opportunity? So was in Denver 3 years, and there were G League opportunities, and so I started trying to get involved in those to see again if I could be a head coach, run your own practice, diagram stuff. As the video guy and as a scout and as an assistant, I'd always call them like bar napkins or bar coasters. You got all these ideas and diagrams and stuff you want to implement. So for me, it was like, all right, let me see if I can get an opportunity and explore that. So from Denver, Charlotte had an expansion team, Greensboro Swarm, just starting out, brand new facility in Greensboro, North Carolina, new team. So for me, it was exciting. At the time, the G League didn't have two-way contracts, and a lot of the NBA guys going back and forth they did now. So was able to, again, get my feet wet as a head coach, and was there for the first 2 seasons, which was a great experience, an unbelievable opportunity.
What was the hardest thing about being a head coach, and what did you really like about being a head coach besides being a head coach?
Yeah, I think for us, looking back again as an expansion team, it was a challenge just because you're trying to put a roster together. NBA G League so you're trying to find guys that have been done in college or maybe have played overseas, guys that trying to get chemistry to fit. And I think my first year we started 0-5, so as a first-time head coach, it was Thanksgiving and you don't want to eat. You think it's something you did. Is it the offense? Is it the defense? Is it my voice? Is it personnel? Is it what's going on to get a win? I think now in retrospect, it was and on any level. Hey, the talent wasn't there. These guys were giving effort. They were playing their butt off. So as the head coach, you're like, do we need to practice longer? You're searching for answers. And I think, again, in retrospect, it's, I look back, Bill, and laugh. And it was like, man, we could never beat Toronto. Jerry Stackhouse, heck of a coach. But maybe, the games they had Fred VanVleet helped, when they had Siakam helped. They had they had a heck of a team. And again, hats off to them. But I think that was the biggest thing, is that, sometimes it's you can practice all day, as you can work on things all day, you can drill. But if your guys are giving effort and they're getting better, which they were, it was frustrating. But you look back and you go, okay, man, it was a great experience. So I think winning and losing at the time was the toughest piece. But again, to have your own practices and be the voice and be on the board and do your own ATOs was invaluable.
Okay, so Doug, so now how long were you there?
Two seasons, the first 2 seasons in Greensboro.
Okay, so talk about your next move. What were you thinking?
So I did Greensboro for 2 years. I really liked the G League. Loved being a head coach. And then basketball comes full circle. So Derek Pierce, who had hired me in Indiana and was a video coordinator there, was now running the G League team for the Atlanta Hawks. So transition from Greensboro, the Hornets team, to Atlanta. Their team the first year was in Erie, Pennsylvania. And then the second year, they had transitioned, similar to the Hornets, had an expansion team, College Park Skyhawks. So, again, it was great because I'd been through it. I'd been through those growing pains in Charlotte with College Park. Again, new team, new to the area, brand new facility. So another great learning experience, a privilege to be a head coach. And again, you continue to learn. So in Greensboro, Erie, to College Park.
So talk about that team right now.
Yeah, I think as the G League continued to grow, they did the two-way contracts, which is an extension of your roster basically, and those guys get a little bit more money, so it helps. So we had Brandon Goodwin, who's now with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Huge help. RJ Hunter. The team I had in Erie was, we had 3 big guys that all played at Kentucky: Terrence Jones, Isaac Humphreys, and Alex Poitras. So for me as a coach, kind of the way teams are playing now, the delay, open, you got your big guy kind of initiating the offense, high IQ. So that was great. That was my year in Erie. We kind of played up tempo. Put the ball in the big guys' hands, who had a really, really high IQs, the guys that I mentioned. And then the next year in College Park, we had a defensive-minded team. Our big guys were really good on the block. And we had, really good guards that could pressure the ball. So I think that's the biggest thing with the G League, is it's so unique. My first year in Greensboro, my second year in Greensboro, same exact city, same exact facility, same uniforms, 2 completely different teams, 1 through 12. And then again, same almost from Erie to College Park. And then as a coach, you look on paper, you see what you have. So the first year you could play up tempo, shoot some threes. Again, unselfish players. I think we're right 1 and 2 in assists and pace. And then the next year, okay, what team do I have? Just adopting on the fly. And trying to do what you can do, again, to get these guys to play to their potential. They have the dream to get the NBA. How can you help them? If not getting the NBA, how can they reach their goals, make some money overseas if possible? So again, great experiences.
Well, talk about yourself now. What are you thinking about? Are you wanting to continue to coach? Are you wanting to do something else?
Yeah, no. So this past year, Bill, I was an assistant at Elon University in the Colonial Conference in college. So I like the fact for myself that I could say coached in the NBA, was a head coach in the G League, was an assistant coach at the mid-major level. So continuing to coach at Elon, the NBA dream is always there. But I think it helps. My son is now 13, so working with him, and better than anything that the game is the game. The ball's round, the hoop's still 10 feet, so different, obviously different levels. But it's a global game. It's obviously a great game, and I think my experiences, have obviously helped me down many different roads.
So you're looking to continue to coach then?
I am. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's okay. That's pretty much 99% of the coaches on the planet.
Right. Right.
Everybody loves it. Everybody feels like they have something to offer and participate in. Hey, on that note, talk about your lovely wife and your family.
No, thanks for asking. So my wife Sherry, and I believe yours is as well. So we have that in common.
Yeah, we do.
My son Jack is now 13. My daughter Rowan is 9. Living in Charlotte. So she's got soccer tonight practice. They play on Saturday. My son finished his season in basketball. They're finishing up school. He also played football, so he's again got a passion for both of those. So it's been fun to again, and I've been hands off. I've just been a dad as much as I can. Go to games, support them, and not try to meddle or
I understand.
It's tough, but it's been good. It's been good.
Awesome. Well, no, I'm so very happy to have you on. We have always had spirited conversations, and I think they've been really good. So,
no, and I that's why I want to thank you, Bill. It's funny, like just the stuff we've talked about, or in even game planning. I remember the stuff that sticks with you. I'd say we'd look at a team, and I'd say, man, he's shooting 82% from the free throw line. That's pretty good for a big guy, And you'd say, well, what's the difference? He's a basketball player. Why is it? He shoots 82 and he's 6 foot as opposed to 7 foot. Why is there a difference? He's a free throw shooter,
Yeah. Well, let me
stuff
throw
like that. That's so little, and you're like, yeah, exactly. Or we talked briefly about just quote unquote small ball. If you can defend, right? What difference does it make if you can defend a 5 or a 1? Or you're a basketball player.
Yeah, it's people are kind of bizarre. It's like he scores well inside for a little guy. He shoots well for a big guy. But how about this? He has a high basketball IQ. So what does that mean? The rest of the time he's an idiot.
Another good point. Once the buzzer sounds, you're in trouble.
So people are just bizarre. They're just bizarre in their words and their thoughts. That's all I'm saying.
Right. No, but again, in all seriousness, it's helped in evaluating, and then I've taken that lesson, and again, I've been in meetings with the NBA teams I continue to work for, the G League meetings, and it's the same conversations. If he can, he's 6'2" and he can rebound, he can rebound.
Rebound.
That's a value. Put him wherever you want. He's gonna come up with a loose ball. That's what we need. That's what we value.
Exactly. As long as he can do something.
Right.
It doesn't matter what skill you have, as long as you have a skill.
Right. And you see now that the NBA is so specialist, right? Not everyone, but the majority of guys are specialists what they do.
No, thank you again. Very, very awesome.
No, appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I think I should have been the one interviewing you.